This is diggstape, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Schreiber. Sidearm whip. Scars. Now in front. Fidel scores. Ball Rabel. Splits two and scores.
Kylie O'Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Kelly, not shy. Bounces one home. What a start.
Welcome to Pro Lacrosse Talk, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam. Together we're bringing you interviews with your favorite players and coaches, as well as news from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues. All right, today we have our first guest in our Creator Series, and it's a guy who in the past 7 months has taken the lacrosse community by storm with his lacrosse highlight commentary on social media. Mikey Diggs, more popularly known as diggstape, all one word. Welcome to the show.
All one word is right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start off in your early days a little bit. So you grew up in the DMV in Damascus. You started playing lacrosse pretty early in 5th grade, like most of us in the DMV, then moved to California and to San Diego in 10th grade. So tell me how you kind of picked up the stick for the first time, and what was it like going from East Coast to West Coast?
Oh, man. So I actually I played the bad word sport. I played baseball. I started with T-ball. My dad was just like, "You gonna play a sport? Just put me in T-ball." But then when I couldn't really, 2 major things happened right when I picked up the stick. My best friend Ethan Bodie started playing lacrosse. He grew up like we could see each other's bedroom windows from our own, so we grew up right down the street from each other. I was playing baseball, and the only thing I could do was hit well. I wasn't a very good fielder. But then when kids started placing pitches, I couldn't hit anymore. And that was like 5th or 6th grade. And at the same time, Ethan was like, "You should try lacrosse." And I was like, "What's that?" So his parents brought me to some games, and then they gave me a stick for my birthday. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm done with baseball." So I just started playing lacrosse right then. I was a football player too, so I took to it and just fell in love with it pretty quick and forgot baseball was a thing by the time 7th grade came around. So I was all in on it.
Nice.
So I was playing lacrosse out there in Damascus, just Damascus Sports Association. Shout out DSA Cougars. Just playing in that program. Went to Damascus High School. Got picked up. We actually didn't have JV at that high school, so it was either you made varsity or you were like a 9th grader playing club somewhere, which is crazy to think about in the state of Maryland. Yeah. So I ended up making varsity as a freshman. So I played varsity freshman and sophomore year, and then my family just picked up and moved out west. I attended a private Christian school for a year that didn't have a team. So when everyone was getting recruited their junior year, I was running track. So that was tough to handle. So that shift is kind of marked by showing up and being at a private school and playing football, but then having to run track. I didn't want to play like lacrosse that spring or whatever the situation was. But the transition was actually pretty smooth. I was happy with it. Growing up in the DC area, playing public school lacrosse, I mean, kids were pretty good back in the mid 2000s. But by the time 2008 rolled around, when I was a senior in high school, San Diego's lacrosse scene had actually gone through a lot of the growing pains and development stages before I got there. Inside Lacrosse had run an article about Will Yateman, if you guys remember who that is.
Yep. From Notre Dame, and then played football too, right?
Yep, Notre Dame, Maryland, ended up playing tight end and tackle in the NFL. Big boy. But yeah, he is the native son of San Diego lacrosse, and his dad started Dennis Yateman. He started lacrosse here.
Okay.
And they're from a community called Rancho Bernardo. So when I landed here, my parents kind of gave me a choice of all right, well, we kind of uprooted you from your high school. Which one of these high schools do you want to finish your lacrosse career at? And I was like, well, I read the column about Will, so let me go to RB real quick. So I enrolled at Rancho Bernardo, and that kind of shaped my experience. And Rancho Bernardo is a pretty good program. Learned about the Torrey Pineses, the Poways.
Yeah.
So it's the transition was actually fairly smooth coming from Montgomery County Public Schools out to San Diego. The Torrey Pines team I played against, both of their goalies were seniors and D1 bound. One for Bucknell, one for Penn State. How does that happen? 2 goalies in the same grade going D1. That was it's crazy. So it was actually it was good. It was good to see that the West Coast guys could play lacrosse, and just having that competition there, and then reinserting myself in the East Coast. I really didn't miss a beat, and it's only gotten better here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And then, you continued your lacrosse career going to Western Pennsylvania, played D3 lacrosse at St. Vincent's College. Tell us what it was like playing for the Bearcats for 4 years, and is this when your personality really started to shine within the lacrosse world, or was it kind of already there?
Oh, it was awesome, man. It was such a great time. I mean, like I knew who I was as a player, so I wasn't expecting to show up at like Maryland and kick the door down. So I was just excited to continue playing lacrosse at the NCAA level. And it was just one of those places where you show up and, everybody's so cool. Like the coaches and the players there have built such a great like baseline for who they want to play for the team, who they want to be a part of that community in general, which is why I still put on for the school and the program super hard. But it was great just meshing in with all my boys, all my 2012 boys, and the guys a little older and younger than me over the years, including your Pat Kenna. It was great. I if I could go back in time and do it all over again, I would not pick another school. Like that's the one. So it was an awesome experience, and we had some up years and down years. My junior year, we were one overtime road loss away from going to the D3 tournament. So that was tough. One of the better teams I ever played for, but all in all, great experience, man. The whole diggstape persona is a combination of a lot of people I've either played sports with or watched sports with or experienced different phases of life with. So St. Vincent and my friends there get a lot of the credit for the formation of what diggstape eventually became. I always saw the game a little differently. Ever since I was a kid, I saw a lot of things in lacrosse that I thought were like funny or fun in a way that other people just didn't. In a way where like I would laugh at something and my teammates on the sidelines would like look at me like I wasn't taking the game seriously. When really to me it's just like you didn't see what just happened. Like you didn't see how he got the 2 to completely turn around when like that wasn't like he shouldn't have even fell for that pass. Like how did he get him to do that? Like, like I would just laugh. Like I would just think stuff was funny. And it just turns out at St. Vincent, like I met a lot of the guys that felt the same way about the little things. So we would sit around, me and my roommates, Will Selmayer, Will Delanoy, Rudy Rudolph, who's actually my designer. The 4 of us lived together off campus a couple years, and we would just sit around and watch highlights and just laugh and just like wow at all these guys that were our age at the time. Like if you guys remember the UNC attack line, that was Marcus Holman, Joey Sankey, and I believe it was Jimmy Bitter at the time.
Yep.
That was right when I was like a junior and senior at St. Vincent. So just like watching these guys that were like my age and just what they were doing, and just like we would just sit around and make up phrases like that. That environment is where rule number 1 came about.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's like an invention of like the 4 of us, and not just me.
Okay.
So like it's something that every time someone like laughs at a phrase, most of them are stuff that like we came up with at St. Vincent. Like it's not just me, which is the best part about it to me. But it's definitely the borrowing of the humors from the guys I went to school with and played lacrosse with, and just other stuff as well, like borrowing from like basketball culture that's super interesting from the outside looking in. Just watching other sports and drawing comparisons to other sports personally, and just an amalgamation of a lot of different things.
Yeah, if we can get lacrosse Twitter anywhere near NBA Twitter game, we got something going for us.
NBA Twitter is the best thing to happen to the internet ever of all time, and I will die on that hill.
Agreed. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with you, man. Kind of moving on to some of your professional side of things. You really enjoy photography, which is awesome. And actually got the opportunity to work with Mikey Powell and the Powell brothers. They reached out to you when they saw some of your photography, and you got to blog with them and do a lot of cool stuff with them. So talk about your experience working with the Powell lacrosse team.
Oh man, that's a wild story, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this starts back, I think it was 2016.
Okay.
I wasn't doing much in the lacrosse world other than just coaching. I was coaching Rancho Bernardo, my alma mater, and I had just like gotten a new job working at some place. I was slinging light bulbs, fun job, but like I wasn't doing much in the lacrosse world, and I was definitely back then. I was going out and shooting and posting for this landscape photography Instagram that I have, and I still post to from time to time when I'm not caught up in my other aspects of life, but it's something I really love to do. And at the time, I was really pouring energy into it because that was like my side venture. Like, you know, I was making money with a camera. I was, you know, working full time, and then I would post landscape stuff when I had the time to. And just randomly one day, I got a DM from PLL Lacrosse. It was interesting because I had known the Powell brothers had started this brand, and I like bought it. Like I bought something from them right when they dropped, or like pre-ordered something. So I was like aware of their brand, and I was like one of their first followers, just because we all grew up on the Powell brothers. Like
Absolutely,
like they finally did their own brand. Like thank you, you know. Like so, I'm following along and whatever. But I get a DM from them, and I'm like, what do they want? Like, I don't post anything about lacrosse on this account. Like, it's all just landscape photography pictures. And it turns out, like, I'm reading through the message, and it's like, hey, you know, just want to say, like, we love what you're doing. And I just didn't know what to make of it until I got to the bottom. It was like, he was like, we respect the artistry. And it was like, sign the MP.
That's amazing.
I stared at that DM. I kid you not, I stared at that DM for hours trying to figure out what just happened. Like that's my favorite, like one of my favorite lacrosse players ever.
Yeah.
And he like commenting on something not lacrosse related about my life.
Yeah.
So I sat on it, and then I like replied to him the next day because like I had to collect myself. Like I had to like take deep breaths and meditate on what if this is the only thing I ever say to Mikey Powell, what am I going to say? That's how you got to think of it. So like, okay, it's like the best thing I could do is just offer him a picture. So basically, I'm gonna paraphrase, but I was like, dude, I worship the ground you walk on. I will send you any picture you want for free. Tell me how big you want it, and it will be at your door.
That's amazing.
And he's the man. So he hits me back, and he's like, actually, I got a better idea. I want to make like a blog about you as a player/artist. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, how does this man know I even play lacrosse? Like, I don't post about anything. Like, how do you know this? So he's like, he just pick a stick, customize it, whatever you want, and we'll send it to you, and we'll like do a blog together. Like, take some pictures of the stick, and I'll interview you, and we'll do that. Which that blog is still up for anyone that's listening that wants to read it. I'll just like drop the link somewhere or something like that. But yeah, it was
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that was crazy. That was the start of it. And then nothing really happened for about a year. And then one of my buddies that knew that whole thing went down, he like texted me one day. He's like, yo, did you see this? They're looking for a freelance photographer. And I was like, bet, I'm about to apply. So I did. And I just like linked the article and was like, by the way, this is me. And they were like, you have the job.
That's great.
It was like 2 days later. So ever since like spring of 2017, about 2.5 years now, I've been taking the majority of their like social media photos. I help run their social media accounts. So I do some of the creative, I guess the visible creative work for them. They have people that do all the back end stuff, but I do a lot of their product photography and stuff like that. And it's been super fun. I actually don't really interact with the Powell brothers too much. They have guys that do the legwork, but I'm sure I think Ryan is the closest connected to the brand, so I'm sure that I'll be, in touch with Ryan in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. Funny. I feel like that they are like the most like just go with the flow people in the world. Like all the Powell brothers. Like the one day I was in like 11th grade and I got on Facebook a friend request and it was from Casey Powell. And I was like, this is like a fan account, and it was literally his account. So I'm pretty sure I'm Facebook friends with him still. And he like posts about his daughter all the time and all these things. And I'm like, only one of the Powell brothers would have like a real Facebook page still that you can like ask to be their friend and everything.
Right. Yeah, and not like a protected account.
Exactly.
Like a influencer or celebrity account. Like, no, just Casey Powell on Facebook.
We're trying to have actually Casey on, and so usually we like DM guys and just ask like if, hey, would you want to come on the podcast or whatever. So I direct message him. I'm like, hey, you like long message, like, you want to come on, like this is who we've had in the past, really like you to come on, hope you can do it. And he just says, yeah, sure. Like the most nonchalant response. So I guess it just sums him up in a nutshell. And like you mentioned, Mikey is obviously an artist himself with all the music he's putting out, and he's still involved in the lacrosse community, but not to the greatest extent. He's more of an artist now, and I think that just kind of shows like the the sport is not just all about the sport. Sometimes it's about the the other stuff surrounding it. But I guess that's a good segue into diggstape itself. You started March 7th this year. I don't think people realize like how new your account still is. And it just kind of blew up from there. I remember my brother actually turned me on to it. He's like, I'm like, what are you watching? He's like, oh, lacrosse highlights. This guy diggstape. He like does commentary on them. And so I started listening to it. I'm like, oh, this is like unique or whatever. I've never really heard anything like this before. But what kind of made you make that leap into just starting diggstape? You mentioned that you got influence from all your former college teammates. But when did you just decide, hey, I'm going to launch this and see where it goes?
The funny thing about that is I sat on the idea for that page for a long time. Diggstape, I guess now we can call it its proper noun.
Yeah.
But in my mind, when I was like sitting on this idea, it was just like a page where I talk over lacrosse highlights. Like I just thought, we did it all the time in college, and really where it took off, the idea kind of took hold for me, I guess I should say. I would get on Snapchat. And you go to college, and when you're not seeing your friends all the time anymore, it's like you really miss your friends. You miss what you used to laugh about. So I would jump on Snapchat like during college lacrosse season and just like Snapchat my TV screen and be like, bro, did you see this man Kevin Rice's assist? Like, was that over the crossbar? How did he do that? Like, just like stuff like that. And like my friends that I would send it to would be like, yo, this is like bringing me back. Like, this is hilarious. And then as I kept doing that, people would be like, throw different ideas out, like, yo, you should like put this on Facebook so I can come back and watch it, or like very small time ideas. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And then when Instagram started doing video, it took a while for me to realize like, oh, maybe Instagram could be a place for it. And then what really like made the juices start pumping for me was when I found Famous Lows. Y'all follow Famous Lows, right?
Yep.
I don't actually. I need to though.
Oh, you gotta follow Lows.
I told you I'm a loser when it comes to stuff. Like my brother is the one that like he's like, you gotta check out this Instagram account. I'm like, all right, I use Instagram occasionally, and I feel like I'm only 25 years old. I feel like I'm already an old man, but I will check it out.
Yeah, man. Then let me be the one to push you on, bro. I'll
Okay.
DM you his account. This man,
All right.
Los, is the funniest dude on the internet. Basically, you don't know who he is. He's just this dude that like I think he's from North Carolina, and he's like filet, but like a different flavor of it.
Okay.
Filet does like he like sings, and you never really see him, and he like doesn't do a whole lot of cuts. He just does like mashups, and he like like gives onomatopoeias to actions, and it's hilarious. But like Los is a different flavor. Los like he'll like criticize one play. Like if a dunk happens, he'll like show the dunk, and then he'll like walk into the frame. And he back in the day, he was doing this in his bathroom in his apartment. He would set his phone up in his bathroom with terrible sound, like echoing sound, and he's like, nah, hold on, bro, and like talk about this dunk and just show it, and then like meme stuff over it. And I was like, bro, how funny would that be if that was lacrosse highlights? Like, I bet you I could do that, because like that's how I talk about lacrosse.
Yep.
But I had been following Los for like 2 years, and I would always be like, okay, this spring I'm gonna make this account in February, and I'm just gonna run it through the college season, and I'll see how it goes. And then like a season went by and didn't do it. Another season went by and didn't do it. And then this past lacrosse season, 2019, what spurred it for me was when Asher Knowlton went through the whole UVA defense and then threw a behind the back, all disrespectful, right in his eyeball. Y'all saw that play, right?
Oh yeah, it blew up on Twitter. I remember seeing that, and it amazed me too that it's like High Point. It's not a big time school.
They got a lazy river, Hutton. Come on, that's big time.
It is big time, but that's what my point is. Like lacrosse is starting to really blow up in these smaller programs. It's not just the Cuses and the UVAs anymore. I mean, obviously they won the championship, but I think that's kind of cool too about it is you're kind of getting these programs that are smaller get their due. But that's another tangent.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about that particular topic all day long. Actually, it's been really good to see, man. But yeah, it was Asher doing that. I was actually on a snowboard trip with Ethan, the guy that gave me my first stick that I grew up with. I was out in Colorado with him, and we took that trip on President's Day weekend, which is like right when all the first games are happening, all the first games of the season. And I'm sitting there in the motel room with Ethan, and I'm like, yo, like, this is the year I do that account. And he's like, yeah, man, just start it and see what happens. So like I get home from that trip, I think up a name or two, and I'm like, all right, well, diggstape kind of sounds like A1 mixtape. It's got my name in it, so no one can style jack me. Let's just run with that and see if it latches on. And I thought maybe I'd get like 5,000 followers. Like I was like I'll top out at like 5K and it'll just be something fun. But here we are.
What are you at? You're like over 30K, right?
I'm about to hit 40 soon.
40. Oh
That's
my
amazing.
gosh, yeah, that's great. 7 months too. You know, that's
Yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty amazing. I mean, me and Adam definitely aren't at that level yet, but it's kind of the same thing where we both played D3 lacrosse communications majors, and we're just like we should start something lacrosse related, and we kept knocking the idea back and forth, and finally we were kind of just like, all right, like pro lacrosse doesn't get enough attention. Like college lacrosse everyone talks about college lacrosse, everyone writes about it, so let's like find that niche and make it like pro lacrosse, and that's kind of how we jumped in. And it's one of those sports that it's been great because it's so small that you do have those opportunities to talk to professional players and stuff. Like I tell everybody, if we did a basketball blog, I wouldn't be able to talk to the big names, but here I am talking to LeBron Jameses of the lacrosse world because it's still so accessible of a sport. I don't know, and I think what you did is great, and I think it's you're bringing new fans to the game, which I think is important. But talk about you met Kyle Harrison when you were younger, and then the PLL reached out to you, and you got to talk to him and do a diggstape video with him at the All-Star game. So what was that experience like?
Dude, like like you're saying, like you get to talk to the LeBron Jameses of your sport. Like that's what's so dope about what you guys and me are doing. We're able to, like, if the community speaks for you, you're able to kind of like step into that. And I didn't realize that was a thing until it happened. And then I look around and I'm like, oh, that's happening for, guys like you. And it's just like been wild, crazy. So yeah, I mean, Kyle Harrison is like, how people have Michael Jordan posters on their wall. Like I had Kyle Harrison posters on my wall. Like I literally walked to the bus stop at 6:30 in the morning, like practicing Kyle Harrison's split dodge, like how kids do in the movies, how they're like practicing like MJ's crossover. Like, nah, that was me with Kyle Harrison's split, like right, left, roll back, like with nobody on the street. Like, like that was me as a kid. And like I met him. I remember meeting him. I should tell this story. It's one of the few perks of having moved out west playing lacrosse. I got nominated to an All-Star game, and I drove up to Orange County College, which is like a community college up there, and the LA Riptide were playing their home games there. And the schedule for the day was the high schoolers play their All-Star game, then like 2 hours later, the Riptide and the RIP San Francisco Dragons.
Delco Dragons, yeah.
The what?
Half those players on the squad. I'm from right outside of Philly, and Delaware County, and half that squad was all Delco guys. So they called them the Delco Dragons back home.
That's tight.
Yeah,
Delco Dragons. Yeah, that's hot. Yeah, so it was the LA Riptide versus the Delco Dragons, and I was just like, man, this would be so cool. Like a lot of players I look up to I'm going to get to watch them play again. Like Kyle's playing, Kevin Huntley's playing, Chaz Woodson's playing, Jesse Hubbard's playing. Like I gotta stay for the game. So I like convinced my parents to stay. And then like after the game, after one of I scored 2 goals in the All-Star game. And after my first one, I hit a backflip because I've always wanted to do one as a celebration. And you get penalized in the spring. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to cost my team. But in the All-Star game, I don't give a what if I'm already committed to college, bro. You can flag me if you want to. Backflip. So stuck the backflip, got the flag, whatever. After the game, this woman approaches me and she's like, "You're the kid that hit the backflip." And I'm like, yeah, that was me. She's like, "Yeah, I was watching. You kind of remind me of like the athleticism reminds me of a young Kyle Harrison." And I was like, "Oh man, that's nice of you to say. Thank you." She's like, "Yeah, I'm the women's Hopkins coach. We're good friends." And my mind starts racing. I'm like, where are you going with this? She's like, you want to meet him? And like my soul ascended to heaven. Yes, I want to meet Kyle. So she goes in the locker room and pulls him out. And we have a conversation. I'm just like this 18-year-old kid that I'm like, dog, I worship you. I try to be like you in every way on the field. So like that's where I got that picture that I posted on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like the first time I met him, I was like, that's the most starstruck I've ever been in my life. First time I met Kyle Harrison. So like it's just funny that fast forward 11 years, 2019, PLL drops. Kyle's working in the offices. Diggstape does what it does. And the guys on the media team, shout out Tyler Steinhardt, he hits me up and he's like, yo, like, you should cruise through for the All-Star game since it's just a drive for you. And Kyle's a big fan and he wants to, like, do a video with you.
That's awesome.
And my soul ascends to heaven once more. What? You want to do a video with me now? This is crazy. So I pull up and, like, oh man, just like that was such a fun day, and we just get in this studio. It's hot, like the room we're recording in is hot. Both of us are sweating. You know, Josh and Jordan, two of the media guys at PLL, were kind of recording us. Josh Rahman and George Shaparsky, if you guys know who those are, legendary lacrosse media guys. So shout out to those two. They're like recording us. They the media team, including like B-Rob and Tyler Steiner, put this video together. And we're sitting there, we're recording, and Kyle can't stop laughing. Like every 5 seconds, every time I say anything, Kyle just starts busting up laughing, and he like can't, like, we have to like stop recording like 5 or 6 times because he's just laughing so hard. We gotta like pause and rewind because we're like watching on an iPad together. And it was just like surreal that like someone that I look up to like enjoys my take on like the sport that both of us love. It was just like a very, very surreal moment to me as a lacrosse fan, because that's all of us really are, just lacrosse fans.
That's awesome. My favorite part of that story, though, is how you said the reason you didn't do backflips was because you didn't want to get penalized. Yeah, that's my reason too. I didn't do backflips because I couldn't do a backflip.
Oh man. So kind of going off that, we talked a little bit PLL. We're just kind of curious about your take. We're kind of entering the first PLL off season now. What do you want to see during this off season? Whether it's kind of like Paul's mentioned some expansion possibilities, some off season player movement, even from a content standpoint. What are you kind of looking to get out of the PLL this off season?
Dude, you know what? I work. I don't like telling everybody where I work at because like we cancel culture these days. I don't need nobody run up on my job trying to take my check away for something they don't like. So I can't tell you where I work, but I can tell you that I work in marketing and then I'm a writer full time, and I work alongside graphic designers to do all sorts of stuff. So I'm like very in tune with like how that world works, how to get people engaged with stuff. So what I would want to see personally from PLL as a brand is like dive into player stories and personalities more, and like let us see faces, let us see like really dumb stuff with players. Like literally, like I want to see like whoever lives in LA. I think Callum Robinson just moved in with Kyle Hartzell, and then whoever else lives in LA, or like frequents LA. Like I know Trevor Baptiste. I was talking to him earlier, and he is thinking about maybe hopping over there. But like anyone that lives in LA, like get him out for a game of spike ball. Like just like anything random, you know, like get people to love like everyone's individual brand. And get them together and play pool, you know, like what, and then ask them questions, or like go to Six Flags in Valencia, which is like you know, an hour or two from LA. Like have RJ vlog a trip to Six Flags with like Trevor Baptiste, Colin Farrell, like whoever, Kyle Hartzell. So like stuff like that. Like I think people would really appreciate getting to know the players, because I mean like the PLL is really priding themselves on letting players be their own brand, and I think it's brilliant for not only the PLL but the players individually. So the more that stuff gets proliferated as far as from a content standpoint, like the more people are going to buy into the league, and the more people are going to just be invested in players no matter where they go. That's how you build long-term fans, and they know that. I'm not telling you anything they don't know. Just personally, that's what I kind of want to see. And then like from like another fan perspective, like player movement. I mean, like think about how electric the NBA offseason is with all the players moving around.
Gotta get a Diggs bomb, man. Gotta get a dropping Diggs bomb.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yes, get that insider information, drop it. We talked to one of our contributors, Dan Arestia. He wrote on that an article on that on our site.
Right. That's right. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Mhm.
Dan's article really got me thinking. Like player movement, man. Like I know there's no free agency, but just like any sort of like buzz, like when a player moves, like find some sort of way to make some sort of buzz out of it. I don't know exactly how.
Absolutely.
You know, sometimes that's the Twitter army's work.
Yep.
So we got our work cut out for us, boys.
Yeah, well, that was Dan's whole point, is like he wants to see, this is extremely hypothetical, but he's like, if Justin Gutterding is going to the Redwoods, he wants to see something like on the nose, like Justin Gutterding in front of a redwood tree or whatever. So like I photoshopped like a picture of that just for the article purposes, but that's the type of stuff that we love and that as fans we eat up. So yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, man. I think anything that the PLL or its players or just even the followers can do to build any sort of hype, so that people a big reason why I want lacrosse Twitter to be more like basketball Twitter is because like I don't even, just case in point, I've never played a minute of organized basketball my whole life. I can't play that sport. I'm not good at it. So like I was never interested in it. But then once I found out that the funniest place on the internet is basketball Twitter, now all of a sudden I'm paying attention to the NBA. Like now all of a sudden I know like that like Zach Gordon's one of the best in-game dunkers right now. Like I would never have known that. So like the more we can do stuff that makes other corners of the internet want to participate in our subculture, like we're building fans automatically. So like it just be funny. Like NBA Twitter is great because it's funny and for no other reason. So like we just need people to like genuinely be funny, whether or not they're talking about the sport. That's how a good modern way to rope people into what we're talking about as a whole.
Yeah, we gotta get Jim Gray from ESPN to sit down with the first player that moves and have them say, "I'm taking my talents to whatever team they're going to."
Yes.
or a Players Tribune article, my next chapter or whatever.
Yeah, like the KD athletic
like
article,
that.
man.
That's gold, But going off of that, another subculture I think we want to kind of talk about is that you're a big gamer. So I want to talk about like kind of what games you like to play and what's it going to take. This is more a shout out to Mike and Paul Rabel. What's it going to take to make a PLL video game? And I say you lend your voice to it for any goal highlights or whatever. I feel like that would be pure gold because we get these games like MLB The Show and stuff, and you get the network analysts and stuff. They'll give their regular commentary. But what if we had like somebody like you just blowing it up like like your commentary
Blitz.
like you do on your videos, but in the video game? I think that would be awesome.
Did you just say PLL Blitz?
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh, yes. Let's do it.
It's a $1 million idea.
It is. And you know what? The PLO can have it for absolutely free. Just give us a shout out. That's all we need.
$3.99, man.
Gaming is something that I've been into video games forever, and it's just funny. Like on a side note, remember how all of our parents told us that playing video games wouldn't get us nowhere in life?
Oh my gosh.
Wrong.
Now kids, 16-year-olds are making millions of dollars playing video games.
Jeez, them boys is making cake playing Fortnite. Goodness gracious.
They're building a whole arena by my parents in Philly for the Philly Fusion team. So like it's blowing up.
DeSales, my alma mater, has a gaming team now, and it's varsity. So if you go on our varsity website, you can find DeSales Lacrosse, DeSales Volleyball, and then DeSales Esports. It's an actual thing.
That's banana sandwich. Think about that. These boys are pushing buttons.
Yeah. For real. And it takes skill. I wouldn't call it a sport, but it takes skill.
Yeah. But just that disparity between like a football player that's like risking CTE and torn ligaments and then someone pushing buttons. And it's like a fair question as who's generating more value to the school.
Yeah.
Like that's a fair question. Like you can't knock gamers. Yeah. So I say that to say I've been gaming my whole life and I've been called, everything from like you need to give it up as childish from my parents or like whoever, in my life. Like, why you play so much video games? Like, bro, video games are fun. Like
Yeah.
I prefer them to movies. Like it's just like people. I describe it as this. I like RPGs, like games that have a story. Like that's what always gets me. Like I'm not into like, oh, everyone's playing the new COD, everyone's playing the new Battlefield. Like I don't really care about that. Like I want to play a game that has a good story. Like tell me a story and let me be the main character of that story. Like that's why I prefer it to movies. Like I tell my girlfriend, like, why do you like video games so much? It's like watching a movie, except it's 8 times as long and you get to control the character.
Yep.
Like it's better. So like I play games like right now I'm bouncing between Zelda Breath of the Wild, the Uncharted series.
I love Uncharted.
Okay, no spoilers because I'm brand new. I'm playing the old Uncharted game so that I can then eventually purchase the newest one.
So I actually haven't played the newest one either. I played the original 3 because I got the PS4, and I'm not a huge gamer, but I'm kind of the same way as you. I like the story games because my brothers play Fortnite, and they're like, you should play Fortnite. And I get on there and I get owned. I'm the noob out there.
Me
But
too.
I like the story game because, again, like you said, I'm a big movie buff, so it's kind of like you get to learn. You get to play as that character, and the Uncharted ones it's like you're playing as Indiana Jones pretty much. So I love the first 3. I haven't played the new one either because I got the bundle, and that's what came with it was the original 3. But they're excellent games, yeah.
Yeah, they're dope so far, and so like, but outside of that, I one shooter game that I love, and that I think is the superior shooter game to any shooter game ever made is Gears of War.
Okay.
I love Gears. Like I'm not like super duper good at Gears of War, but if I was going to brag about how good I am at any video game, I'll bust your ass in Gears. Like that's just like, I'm nice at that game. Like that game is so fun. And it's funny. Like that's another thing that like me and my college roommate of 4 years that unknowingly helped build diggstape, Will Selmayer, shout out Loyola Blakefield. He got me into Gears freshman year of college. So we spent 4 years just laughing at like the absurdity of the storyline of Gears of War. Like it's just, I don't know. It's just a comedy. It's a comedy point for us. But then we love playing it. Like we just got Gears 5. We're both nerding out over it with our other lacrosse friends from the school. But yeah, video games are just like movies you can play.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And kind of going off that, like growing the game a little bit in unique ways, right? That's a kind of game that you like. That's super unique. What do you think that needs to happen kind of for the sport to get to the next level? I know this is kind of a big question. What hurdles do you think that the lacrosse community needs to overcome to get the sport where we want it to be?
Ah, man.
Going from game into a deep question, I know.
No, I mean, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. That's my favorite sport, and it helped make me. So like, this is the kind of stuff that like kind of runs through my mind every once in a while. It's like, how do we get this game to as Jim Brown put it, like, how do we take the game where it deserves to be? Like, how do we do that? And just like for me, like I think of it through a little bit of a different lens because I'm a black lacrosse player. Like I mean, I grew up in a majority white town. Thankfully, I never dealt with like any sort of like racism or side eyes, either from my teammates or coaches or whoever. Like I was always embraced, and it occurred to me that I was a black player, and I definitely felt some sort of challenge or something to prove or a responsibility when it came with that, but not in a negative way. And then as I get older, I'm starting to see and understand the at times challenges, but most of the time just the differences when it comes to how people of color and minorities experience the game differently than others. And it's a matter of fact. It's like de facto. It's built into where we are with the sport today. And it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. So for me, part of Diggstape's mission as it grew and I realized like how I could play this role, like part of my mission is to make lacrosse more culturally relevant to more people. So like when other black kids that play basketball or football and like think lacrosse is like, man, like only white kids play that. Like I can't relate to all that. Like I've heard that from a lot of black people in my life. Like I can't relate. Like I don't want to play that sport. I just feel like culturally I don't fit in. Like And for me, it's just like, yo, it ain't got to be like that, you know? And I think that's a big fence for us to jump as a culture. And it doesn't always have to be such a heavy topic like, oh, we got to like, you know, I mean, we do all have to stand up against racism, but it doesn't even have to go that far. It has to just, it can even just be as lighthearted as how do we make this game culturally relevant to the most amount of people? And that's simple things like deconstructing the Laxbro culture will help. So like the Laxbro culture is just the way it came up. It's very upper class,
Fratty.
male,
Yep.
fratty. Yep. And if that's who you are, that's fine. I'm not trying to clown anyone for like that's who they are. But when we try to accidentally or even try to make it that way, like even if it's just for fun, like even if it's just to be funny, it still, you know, unintentionally turns away the people that we want to play, that we want them to be a part of it. But at the same time, some people will be like, you know, have their own opinions on why that shouldn't be the case. But I'm here to tell you, as a black lacrosse player, that's what it does.
Yeah.
So you know,
true.
so in the simplest of ways, just getting people to laugh or to get people to relate it to football or relate it to basketball or relate it to the sport that they like, relate it to hockey, even if people are hockey fans, that gets people to appreciate the sport. If not on a humorous level, then like on an understanding level. At least they understand what's going on, and now they kind of want to be a part of it. So I think that's one of the biggest hurdles we have to jump as far as growing it, because the more people that understand it, they're going to watch it, they're going to be PLL fans, they're going to buy tickets, they're going to buy jerseys, they're going to buy a stick, and then they're going to play, and then they're going to, you know, put money in coaches' pockets when they go to camps and blah, 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 blah. And that's just one of the ways that you know, that we can have control over.
No, I couldn't agree more because my you know, I'm a white male, so you know I kind of fit into that traditional, you know, mold that people want to put lacrosse in. But it gets me every time because this sport was created by Native Americans. It's played by a diverse group of people. I mean, my uncles all played in Baltimore, but they, you know, they grew up. You know, they were lower class for the most part. My one uncle went to Morgan State on a minority scholarship and played with, you know, the 10 Bears. And so it's, you know, it's awesome. I love telling people that, and it's always funny. And they're like, but wait, that's a historic black college. I'm like, yeah, he went on minority scholarship. But it's stuff like that. You know, the sport was never about the entitled, you know, it was never an entitled rich person sport. And it kind of evolved into that perception, you know, and I wouldn't say that it's not necessarily true. That stereotype is true sometimes, but it's definitely a negative stereotype that's developed, and I think what you hit the nail on the head is deconstructing that Laxbro culture and showing people that this is a fun sport to play, it's a fun sport to watch, and it's accessible to everybody. I think that's, you know, that's the biggest thing right now to grow this game to where it needs to be.
Exactly. I mean, that's case in point. I mean, like, you know, making the game is accessible to a lot of people, and I think it's a completely different discussion for a different day on how to make it even more accessible financially. Some companies have kind of taken that up, that some companies have like dropped the price of their heads, or, you know, like lower cost of entry for different sticks and equipment. I think that's great. But discussion for a different day. Basically, yeah, I think there is a lot of deconstructing we can do, and I think that's on everybody to play their small part in. And I think if we can do that as a community, we're going to be better off for it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, let's take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then let's go into our 5 and 5 segment. Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. We've been using Anchor for our podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast so it sounds great, and send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Better yet, they connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're interested in starting a podcast, download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Stitcher Premium. You can use Stitcher Premium to listen to shows ad-free such as Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, My Favorite Murder, Wolverine the Lost Trail, or our favorite, The Fantasy Footballers. For only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, you get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, and comedy albums. Better yet, if you go over to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code lacrosse today, you can get 1 month free. So head on over to Stitcher, sign up, and get your free trial today. All right, so welcome back. Now it's time to dive into our 5 and 5. So I'm going to start off with the lacrosse-related questions, and my first one for you is, we all know rule number 1 is do them ADAP as dirty as possible, but we need to know, what is rule number 2?
There is no rule number 2. That's my answer.
All right. Question 2. What is your favorite lacrosse memory, and is it player related, or is it a memory as a fan? What has that been?
First thing that pops into my head, 2 things. Actually, they're probably tied for first place. 2005 NCAA Final Four. As a new lacrosse fan that kind of sided with Hopkins early on because of Kyle Harrison, watching Hopkins win that crazy overtime game against Virginia and then win the national championship 2 days later, I was in attendance. I was in the stadium for all that drama, watched Kyle Harrison lift the trophy in his last game, and just like witnessing that level of history in that emotional state was awesome. And tied with that is probably my only overtime winning goal of my career, my second to last game as a senior in college. Just like, everyone remembers plays like that like it was yesterday. Coming out, restart, second overtime, split a double team, went straight to the goal, jammed it, did a front flip, like ripped my helmet off, did a front flip. It's like, that was sick. So like that, and watching Hopkins win the championship in 2005.
Awesome. All right, number 3. Which athlete or personality in another sport do you think would fit perfectly in the lacrosse community?
Man, that's a good question. Dang, that really caught me off guard. I want a guy like OBJ in the lacrosse world.
Okay.
Yeah, I think his level of like athleticism and swagger and like not really caring what other people think about him. He's just out there to do him and help his team win, but at the same time be fun, dancing around, clowning people. Like, he would fit in the lacrosse world 100%.
Yeah, that Richard Mill watch would fit under our gloves too, so they wouldn't get a penalty for it. Man.
Hey,
I was just thinking that.
You never told no lie.
All right, so number 4. You have a lot of signature calls. You got You a Cold Boy, ADAP. My favorite's Splash, because you always cut the video off right before you finish Splash. I love that. But what has been your favorite like lacrosse catchphrase or call so far that you have loved, that either caught on or one that you're hoping is going to catch on?
So my favorite one that has caught on is rule number 1. Just because I remember when we sat down and kind of like formulated it as friends, and like we were just peeing our pants laughing about how hilarious of a concept that is. So the fact that that's catching on is awesome. Like nationwide, that's been so humbling. Shout out Bearcat Gang for coming up with that one. And the one that I feel like hasn't caught on yet, no one's caught this, and I've said it in a bunch of videos, I'm waiting for it to catch on, is he all finished, no passport. Like,
Oh my God.
how are people not getting that? Like, no one's commented it, no one's reposted it. Like I think that's hilarious, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
We'll get it trending. We'll try.
well, that boy finished no passport, boy.
All right, number 5. This is the last one, but I know you still play lacrosse in rec leagues. So what is your current stick setup? And are you rocking the all black head, black shaft combo?
I hate all black sticks, man. So my current setup, I'm bouncing between a bunch of different sticks right now because like the crazy thing is I grew up a gear rat, and now all these people are sending me gear. Like, like Maverick sent me a hit a little while ago. Sidewall Jedi just sent me a spare STX Stallion he had lying around. He strung it up, put his magic touch on it. So right now my setup is an all STX setup. For the first time since college, I'm rocking an STX Stallion strung by none other than Lars Keel, a.k.a. Sidewall Jedi. Shout out that dude. Strung up a magic wand. And the shaft is just a STX Scandium shaft. Bottom hand tape, shooter's tape, a little bit of cradle tape, silver shaft, all white head. Simple.
Awesome. I like it clean. That's a clean look. It's not all black combo, but I know you're not a big fan of that, so I have to agree. It looks bad. You can kind of pull it off if you have like a different colored mesh, but if it's like you're going black mesh, black shooters, it's
Right. Yeah. I mean, I gotta give a shout out real quick to my man Magneto, a.k.a. Westberg. He rocking the all black setup, and like he's such a baller that it's like you can look past it.
He's Canadian too, so he can get by on that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He's got that grittiness to him.
Yeah.
That's like kids. I work at in higher ed, and like kids are wearing Crocs now. I like that's just not my style. You know, like the black on black's like Crocs to me. I don't know.
That was never the style.
I would be cooking everybody in that place, bro. I'd be roasting. It would be open season. I'd be cooking everybody.
Well, before we get into the other ones, I feel like too the biggest missed opportunity. I know they got TikTok now, but Twitter killing Vine, I feel like really limited. You could have been really blown up if Vine was still a thing. I mean, I guess you could get on TikTok. I don't know if maybe you already are, but I just remember like Vine in college was the shit, and now it's like Twitter just decided to like, yeah, we're not gonna do that anymore. So we have to rely on old Vines. But I don't know. What's your opinion on that? I guess.
Dude, R.I.P. Vine, man. I mean, like the way I edit my videos is an homage to Vine.
Yep.
Like,
it changed the way we edit. It really did.
It changed the way we edit. It changed the way we consume video and create video. It changed the way we like see humorous things. How like words cut off are a humor point. Like it's not an accident in editing if a word is cut. That's part of the reason why I like cut off like when I'm saying splash or like going through a phrase. Like I cut myself off halfway. Like when I'm like, oh my God, I always like cut myself off halfway. It's like Vine. Like it's a humor point. So RIP Vine, man. And TikTok might be my next move. I've been hearing a lot about it. My man Gary V been shouting it out a lot. That's how you know you gotta get.
Oh, I love Gary V.
Yeah. Dude, that dude knows what he's talking about.
He's awesome. He just had Rob Pennell on his podcast too. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to it. Yeah, I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm definitely itching to listen to that one. So
okay.
Yeah. But all right. Well, Adam, why don't you take away the rest of the 5?
Yeah, so kind of talked about your photography game a little bit. What's been your favorite place to take photos, whether that's professionally or in your spare time?
Well, I'm a big landscape photography guy.
Yep.
So I'm going to have to say I love national parks. I had a national park pass for a little while. So I would have to say my favorite places I've ever taken pictures are twofold. Cape Town, South Africa.
Okay.
And Yosemite National Park.
Nice.
It's awesome, South Africa. Wow.
Yeah, South Africa's tight. If you ever get a chance to go to Cape Town, you got to go.
All right.
Awesome. You just did a Europe trip recently too, didn't you?
Yeah, Europe was lit. I mean, like it was a lot of really cool stuff to shoot, but just like nothing as dramatic as either of those places.
Awesome.
Sure. And kind of going off of that a little bit, what other than photography are some non-lacrosse related passions or ventures that you like to get into these days?
So, man, like photography is awesome, paid or unpaid. I mean, I've been doing film photography. I think that's like kind of separate from the whole digital thing, just because it's like just for me. But I'm a big snowboard guy. I've been snowboarding since I was 12. So I love doing that at least once a year. And now that I have big boy money, I like to go to Big Boy Mountains. So snowboarding for sure. You know, I mean, like that's lacrosse and photography are the two biggest things for me right now, other than like just online video games and just traveling to see new places. Just traveling, snowboarding. Yeah, that's the biggest ones.
Yeah, awesome. And so we talked about what potential lacrosse, non-lacrosse personality would be a good one to bring to lacrosse. But who's a social media personality outside of potentially lacrosse in another sport or industry that would is someone who you'd like to emulate? I think we kind of talked about that a little bit already, but
right. I mean, I'm just gonna say the same answer. Like Famous Los.
Yep.
I want like if I could like cut and paste Famous Los into lacrosse. Come on, dog.
Yeah,
I'd pee in my pants laughing every time that man drops a video. Like, please step into the lacrosse world.
You gotta Photoshop your face on a starting 10 for every lacrosse team, like he's been doing for putting his face on Jason Richardson, Josh Richardson's face with the Sixers and all that, man.
Just like simple stuff like that is so funny. Like,
absolutely.
I don't understand why. It's so good.
It's genius, man.
Genius.
So number 4, you talked about a little bit how you like to bring seasoning to the sport of lacrosse. So speaking of food, what's your favorite meal, and do you prefer to dine out, take out, or cook at home?
I would say my favorite meal right now is Penang curry.
Okay.
I have a Thai place right down the street from my house, and that's like my guilty pleasure. Like,
Okay.
I can walk there, and it's like everyone in San Diego loves it, and I'm like walking distance from it. And their Penang curry slaps,
Nice.
super slaps. So I'm guilty of takeout. I like cooking. It just takes too much time. I'm impatient, so
Yep.
I do that kind of stuff too often.
Nice. And last one for the non-lacrosse related questions. What's a book on your bookshelf currently that you've read or are reading right now that you'd recommend to a friend, teammate, or coworker?
I'm just going to go with the first thing that pops in my mind. The Hunger Games series.
Okay.
And I think for as popular as it is, I think still too many dudes, I would place some of them in the hyper masculinity crowd. Different conversation for a different day. But I think it's slept on. I think people think it's like a love story.
It's not Twilight. It's not Twilight. Everyone wants to say it's Twilight. It's not.
It's certainly not
sci-fi.
Twilight.
Yeah.
It's way more BA than Twilight. It's baller. And I think Catching Fire, the second book in this series, might be my favorite book ever.
Okay.
That's a good one. Yeah. No, I thought Mockingjay was all right. It just kind of didn't know where to go. But I agree with you. Catching Fire was by far the book. Those were my guilty pleasures in high school. And again, everyone was like, "Isn't that like Twilight for like sci-fi?" I'm like, no, it's not at all. It's its own thing. But just because there was a love triangle, people thought it was like automatically.
Well, that's in like question 6 for overtime. Our team Peter or Gail then.
I was Team Gale, man.
Yeah.
I was because he's the OG. Like he was the OG. Like Peter earned his keep. I'm not gonna hate on him, but like if I was Gale, I would feel like, bro, I'm the OG. Like,
agreed.
Come on, dog.
He lost his way.
Like that?
Peter was the guy. I was Team Peter.
Okay.
I don't know.
Everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah. But man, that was a good series. You reminded me of that series. That was not in like my mind at all, and I should reread them. I haven't read them in a while.
Yeah, it was. I love like dystopia and like alternate history. And, I'm just such a nerd when it comes to that stuff. So I'm like, ooh, post-apocalyptic North America. Let's get it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up our 5 and 5. We like to end on one final question. We usually ask both the players we ask or the coaches, but for you in particular, this would be more for content creators. But what is some advice you have for someone interested in creating lacrosse content or getting on social media and getting involved in the lacrosse community?
I would say try something different and don't be afraid to be yourself, because I feel like a lot of people are trying to break into the scope of like trying to be like the next Brett Roberts basically, or be the next Josh Rotman. And do you, if that's what you want to do and you're inclined to do and your quality's there and you're getting noticed for it, that's great. But lacrosse needs originality more than ever. Lacrosse needs different people. It needs different flavors, which is why I'm trying to say you need to put some seasoning on that chicken. That's lacrosse. Put some Old Bay on it, please.
Yes, Old Bay on everything.
Yeah, Old Bay on everything, exactly. But like be unapologetically yourself, even if you think it's weird. Like I went into diggstape thinking people are probably going to think I'm corny or not funny, and I'm just going to be like, oh, I tried. Whatever. I got my 400 followers and whatever. Nothing will happen on the page. Like, I didn't know I was going to work out. So just be yourself. Be creative. Try something different and go against the grain a little bit and see what happens.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, Diggs. We really appreciate you joining us. I assume a lot of our listeners already know where to find you, but remind people where they can find you online.
So I can be found online just at diggstape, exactly how it sounds, all one word. The T is not capitalized, #branding, on Twitter and Instagram. Those are the two platforms I'm on. Hopefully TikTok coming soon. YouTube's in discussion.
Awesome. We love it. All right. Well, we really appreciate it. Hopefully you had as much fun as we did, Diggs. And, we look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. Super fun talking to you guys, getting to know you guys. And I'm sure I'll see you both on Twitter.
Absolutely. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Stitcher Premium. You can use Stitcher Premium to listen to shows ad-free such as Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, My Favorite Murder, Wolverine the Lost Trail, or our favorite, The Fantasy Footballers. For only $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year, you get access to Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, and comedy albums. Better yet, if you go over to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code lacrosse today, you can get 1 month free. So head on over to Stitcher, sign up, and get your free trial today.